Hello and a very warm welcome to today's session brought to you by team Testbook Super Coaching. I hope आप सब लोग geared up हो गए होंगे अपने वेस्ट बंगाल सेट को लेके। इस entire हफ्ते हम लोगों ने काफी कुछ देखा है। अभी 3 दिनों में पिछले 3 दिनों में इंडियन एस्थेटिक्स से रिलेटेड कुछ कुछ चीजें हम इंडियन राइटर्स से रिलेटेड भी किया है। लेकिन आज की जो क्लास है ये डेडिकेटेड है टू ऑल दी एस्पिरेंट्स हु आर गोना बी राइटिंग द वेस्ट बंगाल सेट एग्जाम। हम लोग कुछ क्वेश्चंस को प्रैक्टिस करेंगे और जो लोग वेस्ट बंगाल सेट एग्जाम नहीं कर रहे हैं वो भी इन क्वेश्चंस को अच्छी तरह से नोट डाउन कर लीजिएगा। मैं एक वीडियो में आप लोगों को बताने वाली हूँ कि क्वेश्चंस को कैसे आप अच्छी तरह से याद रख सकते हैं। हाउ कैन यू राइट क्वेश्चंस डाउन जब आप ये प्रैक्टिस सेशंस अटेंड करते हैं। तो आई विल बी टेलिंग ऑल ऑफ यू अबाउट दैट एज वेल, राइट। आई विल बी टेलिंग ऑल ऑफ यू अबाउट दैट एज वेल। तो आज जो हमारी क्लास का मेन फोकस रहेगा, दैट मेन फोकस इज गोना बी ऑन मेकिंग श्योर दैट ऑल ऑफ यू आर प्रिपेयर्ड, ऑल ऑफ यू आर वेल अवेयर अबाउट हाउ यू कैन हैंडल योर वेस्ट बंगाल सेट एग्जाम। ठीक है, वेस्ट बंगाल सेट एग्जाम के ऊपर हम लोग फोकस करने वाले हैं। कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट ट्रिक्स, कुछ इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें जो आप याद रख सकते हैं, बिकॉज आई थिंक अ लॉट ऑफ यू आर एक्चुअली राइटिंग वेस्ट बंगाल सेट एग्जाम एज वेल। ठीक है, प्लीज लेट अस नो इन केस इफ यू आर हैविंग एनी अदर सपोर्ट दैट इज रिक्वायर्ड। आप मुझे मेल भी कर सकते हैं। लॉट ऑफ यू बीन शेयरिंग, मैं कल एक दो मेल भी शेयर करूंगी। गुड इवनिंग कस्तूरी, सोनाली, प्रगति, फ्यूचर ड्रीम्स, शिल्पा, सतेंद्र, सुप्रतिम, दिव्या, डोमिनेटर, कस्तूरी, एक इंग्लिश। गुड इवनिंग एवरीबॉडी। चलिए विदाउट फर्दर अड्यू लेट्स स्टार्ट। अब एक तो आपको याद रखना है कि वेस्ट बंगाल सेट का एक पैटर्न क्या रहा है। दे डेफिनेटली डू गिव यू क्वेश्चंस लाइक साइबर कूली बाय हरीश त्रिवेदी। तो इस तरह के क्वेश्चंस भी आपसे पूछे जाते हैं, लेकिन आपके एक ब्लेंड रहता है, राइट। आपका जो कॉमन नॉलेज है वो भी पूछा जाता है। इसी से रिलेटेड आपका फर्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन आज के लिए आ रहा है। और ये फर्स्ट इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन क्या है, ये एफ्रा बेन का जो नोवेला है द हिस्ट्री ऑफ द नन, द हिस्ट्री ऑफ द नन और द फेयर वाउ ब्रेकर, इसका सबटाइटल भी याद रखिएगा। नोवेला क्या क्या मतलब होता है। गुड इवनिंग तहसीन, गुड इवनिंग। नोवेला का क्या मतलब होता है, इट्स शॉर्टर देन अ नॉवल, राइट। इट्स क्रिस्पर अ फॉर्म ऑफ राइटिंग ऑल टुगेदर। और प्लीज याद रखिएगा दैट ये जो एग्जाम्पल है, राइट, ये जो एग्जाम्पल है इस पर्टिकुलर कैटेगरी का एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट एग्जाम्पल है। एपिस्टोलरी फॉर्मेट, नॉवल रिटन इन द फॉर्म ऑफ लेटर्स दैट वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट। थियोलॉजिकल लिटरेचर, जैसे बनियन का पिलग्रिम्स प्रोग्रेस पे एक तरह से थियोलॉजिकल लिटरेचर के अंतर्गत आता है। या जब आप देखते हो दैट यू नो लॉट ऑफ मिडीवल सेंचुरी लिटरेचर जो आपका डील करता है अबाउट रिलीजन से। प्रोपेगेंडा, एजिटप्रॉप लिटरेचर, क्या सही जवाब है। ऑल ऑफ यू प्लीज क्विकली टेल अस व्हाट इज द राइट आंसर। ओके, द आंसर इज एक्चुअली कमिंग। नो, इट्स नॉट रिलीजियस राइटिंग्स। वेरी गुड, सुप्रतिम हैज गिवन द राइट आंसर। तो सुनिए, क्वेश्चन आपने बिल्कुल गलत नहीं करने हैं। एमिटरी फिक्शन, एफ्रा बेन तो वैसे भी क्या क्या वर्क्स लिख रही हैं। एफ्रा बेन यू नो लव लेटर्स फ्रॉम अ ब्रदर टू अ सिस्टर, इस तरह के वर्क्स लिख रही हैं। द रोवर, in which you are having the character of Angelica Bianca, right? Angelica Bianca, Angelica Bianca अपने आप को क्या कहती है? Angelica Bianca says, I'm a virgin at heart. So again, you're able to see कि किस तरह से Afra Ben, who was also considered to be a spy and the first important professional writer that we are having, तो ये आपको याद रखना है. This is an example of amatory. This is an example of amatory fiction. ठीक है? This is an example of amatory fiction. So please remember that. Okay? Please remember that. All right? Okay, you are trying to explain that. That's good, that's good. Good evening, देवशेष. So amatory fiction का क्या मतलब हो जाता है? ऐसा fiction जो कि आपका love related चीजों से deal कर रहा होता है. That is a part of it. It is also trying to tell you about issues of power altogether. अच्छा, amatory fiction के और कौन-कौन triumvirate, right? Fair triumvirate of wit भी एक तरह से बोला जाता है. So Eliza Haywood, Manley, Delivery Manley and Afra Ben, ये सारे के सारे आपके एमिटरी फिक्शन से रिलेटेड हैं. सो प्लीज रिमेंबर दैट. ओके, इस चीज को आप रिमेंबर याद रखिएगा दैट हाउ यू आर एबल टू सी दैट एफ्रा बेन इज द राइटर हु इज राइटिंग द हिस्ट्री ऑफ द नन, द हिस्ट्री ऑफ द नन और द फेयर वाउ ब्रेकर, हिस्ट्री ऑफ द नन और द फेयर वाउ ब्रेकर. तो इसको आपने बिल्कुल भी भूलना नहीं है. ऑलराइट, okay, now quickly look at the next question that you are having. The fault of Cowley and perhaps of all the writers of the metaphysical race is that of pursuing his thoughts or ramifications. ये हम लोगों ने लास्ट वीक नेट के प्रेपरेशन के टाइम भी किया था, राइट. बाय विच ही लूजेस द ग्रैंडियर ऑफ जनरलिटी. फॉर द ग्रेटेस्ट थिंग्स द पार्ट्स आर लिटिल, व्हाट इज लिटिल कैन बी बट प्रिटी, राइट. सो quickly tell us what is the correct answer. Quickly tell us what is the correct answer. Very good, very good. इसमें ज्यादा टाइम हम लोग नहीं करेंगे. So Kasturi has got it right. Very good, Kasturi. Dominator has got it right. Satyendra Pal has got it right. Anjali, Sonali Mishra, everybody has got it right. Absolutely right. Fault क्या है? They just try to saunter away. They just try to move away. Unfortunately, that is what you are able to see. ठीक है? So Life of Cowley के अंदर metaphysical Grierson जो थे वो क्या कर रहे हैं? Grierson is giving you the first positive response on metaphysical poets, which of course then later on is continued by T.S. Eliot as well. Okay, quickly बताइए यहाँ पर क्या सही जवाब है. Now I'll just show you the answers also in case if you're not able to see this. In case if you're not able to see this, मैं आपको दोबारा से बता रही हूँ. ऑप्शन A है A and B. ऑप्शन B क्या है? ऑप्शन B है A and C. These are the options that you are having. वैसे ये दोनों सही है भी नहीं. I've given you a hint altogether. ठीक है. From among the following, identify two correct statements in Johnson's criticism of Shakespeare. Johnson's criticism of Shakespeare में से कौन दो चीजें जो हैं वो आपकी करेक्ट मानी जा रही हैं. वो आपकी क्या मानी जा रही हैं? वो आपकी करेक्ट मानी जा रही हैं. So what is the correct answer over here? मैंने आपको वैसे ही बोल दिया कि A और B नहीं है. A और B नहीं है. So what will be the correct answer? अगर A और B नहीं है तो what will be the right answer over here for you? क्या सही जवाब हो जाएगा? वेरी गुड. ओके, कस्तूरी हैज गॉट द राइट आंसर. दैट्स गुड. कस्तूरी हैज गॉट द राइट आंसर. कस्तूरी ने बिल्कुल सही जवाब दे दिया है. कस्तूरी हैज गॉट द राइट आंसर ऑल टुगेदर. दैट इज एब्सोल्युटली द करेक्ट आंसर. ही sacrifices virtue to convenience and is more careful to please than to instruct. Right? So what are we able to see? See, Johnson is fine. Johnson says fine. Merging comedy and tragedy is making it more real like, right? Lifelike हो रहा है. He doesn't have any problems with that. ठीक है. The only problem that he has is that he tries to please the audience, right? He's just trying to please the audience and not give them. And remember, Johnson was also a classicist at the heart of it, right? Then he sacrifices reason, truth to pursue poor, barren quibble altogether, that there is no logical confrontation. His Athenians are not sufficiently Greek and his kings are not completely royal. That's not true. Here he has the strict chronology and gives to one. This is not his fault, right? So that is the reason preface to Shakespeare is considered to be one of the first balanced view on criticism, balanced view of criticism on Shakespeare. ना तो वो शेक्सपियर को बहुत ज्यादा प्रेज करता है और ना ही वो बहुत ज्यादा क्रिटिसाइज करता है. इज फाइन विद मर्जिंग कॉमेडी एंड ट्रेजेडी डिस्पाइट बीइंग अ क्लासिकल राइटर. Johnson is fine with that, but the only problem that he has with Shakespeare, he says, is that unfortunately he just wants to please, right? So that is what he's trying to talk about. ठीक है. तो ये चीज आप प्लीज याद रखिएगा. जॉनसन प्रेजेस शेक्सपियर. यही मैं आपको बता रही थी that how he praises Shakespeare because Shakespeare has mingled tragedy and comedy. He is fine with it. He's happy with it. ठीक है. And he says his true to nature stories. मतलब this is what is reality. हमारी reality क्या है? It's going to be not black or white. It's going to be gray, right? It's not going to be black and white. It's going to be gray. That is the reason Mahabharata is more closer to life altogether. ठीक है. But what has he said? उसका जो artistic flaws है वो क्या है? He is just wanting to please the audience. अब देखो यही यही होता है ना tough love. Tough love का क्या मतलब है? अगर मैं आपको सिर्फ अच्छा अच्छा चीजें ही दिखाती रहूंगी and I don't give you tough love, then kids will not improve altogether, right? So that is a fault altogether, and his patron the court rather than fulfilling his artistic duty to instruct. Okay, and also that reason nahi hai, virtue nahi hai. That is something that he's put and he's frequently using double entendre. That is his problem. तो ये इसके artistic flaws है. Please इसको याद रखना. Even if you are not planning to study literary criticism, preface to Shakespeare का ये part तो आपको याद रखना चाहिए. ठीक है. Okay, moving on to the next question. Which of the following is not included? It is not included in Johnson's Lives of English Poets. Which of the following is not included? Who is the one who is not included? So, कौन सा who is not included over here in this category? Satyendra Pal has written the right answer. Boccaccio is not included. That is absolutely the correct answer. Boccaccio is not included. Boccaccio is not included. Milton is there. Addison is there. Gray is there. उल्टा भी कौन-कौन से poets आ रहे हैं? पोप हो गया, ड्राइडन हो गया, स्विफ्ट हो गया, एडिसन ग्रे, पार्नेल, बटलर, सैवेज, काउली. तो ये जो 52 पोएट्स हैं ये ज्यादातर आपकी 18th सेंचुरी में थे. दैट इज व्हाट यू आर एबल टू सी के लाइव्स ऑफ पोएट्स इज ट्राइंग टू डिस्क्राइब. सो प्लीज रिमेंबर दैट, क्योंकि कई बार we go wrong with this question, क्योंकि हमारा ये आंसर बिल्कुल सही आना चाहिए. You should get this right. Johnson provides a commentary on which of the following critics' work of on Shakespeare's plays. What is the correct answer here? What is the correct answer here? Johnson So Johnson provides a commentary on which of the following critics work on Shakespeare's play. There is a commentary that he's providing. किसका he's providing it? किसका he's providing it? हम्म। नेहा सिंह का बिल्कुल सही जवाब आ गया है. इट इज सर थॉमस हैनमर. ओके, इट इज सर थॉमस हैनमर. जॉनसन जो थे ना, ही बिगैन हिज वर्क ऑन मकबेथ, राइट, एंड देन यू वर एबल टू सी के मोस्ट ऑफ द थिंग दैट ही वाज गेटिंग इट, ही वाज एक्चुअली एबल टू गेट इट ऑल टुगेदर. सो अगेन हैनमर का जो एडिशन था, देखो शेक्सपियर के क्रिटिसिज्म पे भी क्वेश्चंस अब आते हैं आपके, राइट, शेक्सपियरियन क्रिटिसिज्म के ऊपर भी आपके क्वेश्चंस आते हैं, अडेप्टेशंस के ऊपर भी क्वेश्चंस आते हैं. So you please be a little more careful on these type of questions. Who's the author of Life of Mr. Richard Savage? Who's the author of Life of Mr. Richard Savage? Life of Mr. Richard Savage. Who's the author that we are talking about? Life of Mr. Richard Savage. Life of Mr. Richard Savage का author कौन है? What is the correct answer over here? What is the correct answer over here? ये this is very simple. This is very simple. ये तो सैमुअल जॉनसन है ना, राइट. ये क्यों हम लोग कर रहे हैं गलत? ये इसी तरह की लॉजिकल क्वेश्चंस हमें बिल्कुल गलत नहीं करने हैं. These type of questions should definitely not go wrong, right? We need to ensure that these kind of questions are not going wrong. So Life of Mr. Richard Savage जो है, what are you able to see? This was something that was released anonymously in 1744, right? 1744. So please keep that in mind altogether. और Savage की खुद की life का भी अपना account है इसके अंदर, and you should be more careful about it, okay? All right, please quickly come on to the next question. In imitation of which classical poet did Samuel Johnson write? Did Samuel Johnson write his London? Samuel Johnson write his London. Samuel Johnson ने अपनी London लिखी थी. Samuel Johnson wrote his London. What is the correct answer? What is the correct answer over here? What is the correct answer over here? Yes, very good. Sonali, Satyendra, Shabnam, everyone's Kusturi, everyone's got it right. It is juvenile, right? This is Juvenalian satire that we are talking about. So London जो है third satire of Juvenal से inspired है. The poem is set in the backdrop of London. It's showing Thales deciding to leave England because it's been festered with squalor, corruption, political strife. All the problems are there, right? Even Henry Fielding was very critical of the England of the time altogether, right? And Thales wants to go to Wales, right? And he wanted to enjoy the mountains, willow trees, and the scenic beauty of nature. And he wants to leave London, right? From the same problems that Ombricius from Juvenalian's third satire wanted to leave Roman Empire. तो parallels याद रखना, ये जुवेनाल के satire 3 के अंदर who wanted to leave Rome? Ombricius wanted to leave Rome. Who wanted to leave Rome? Ombricius wanted to leave Rome. And यहाँ पर लंदन के अंदर क्या हो रहा है? Which is modeled on the third satire of Juvenal. You are able to see that Thales wants to leave to Wales. Thales wants to leave London and wants to go to Wales. तो ये दोनों के दोनों points आप याद रखना. You can get a question like this also. Ombricius, Thales, ये आपको थोड़ा सा याद में रखना पड़ेगा, ठीक है? This is something that you will have to keep in mind. Okay, Johnson's The Vanity of Human Wishes scrutinizes dash of the human values. So what human value are we talking about? And remember, this is modeled on the 10th satire of Juvenal. Okay, this is modeled on the 10th satire of Juvenal. London कौन से satire पे modeled है? Third satire of Juvenal. Vanity of Human Wishes किस पे modeled है? On the 10th satire of Juvenal. So please remember that. What is the correct answer here? See, it is primarily looking at the moral value. What is it primarily looking at? It is primarily looking at the moral value, right? He's primarily commenting on the moral value. So please याद रखना, Vanity of Human Wishes. Vanity of Human Wishes, which is modeled on the 10th satire of Juvenal. ये futility बता रहा है. London is, absolutely indifferent to nature and God altogether. So that is what you're able to see. So again, ये Walpole government का corruption, that is something which is being told moralistic grounds के ऊपर altogether. That is something which is coming in. So please remember that, okay? Moving on to the next, the poem Messiah. The poem Messiah, which was translated from English into Latin by Samuel Johnson, was originally written by which neoclassical poet? It was written by which neoclassical poet? It was written by which neoclassical poet? Which neoclassical poet was it written by? It was written by which neoclassical poet? Messiah. Messiah. Very important. This was having 119 lines altogether that was there. किसने लिखा है ये? No. That is not correct. That is not correct. ये क्या किसने लिखा है? यस एवरीवन। सी अ लॉट ऑफ टाइम्स जब आपको इस तरह के क्वेश्चंस मिलते हैं ना, जिसमें कई कई बार आपका जो क्वेश्चन है दैट इज एक्चुअली नॉट हैविंग द राइट ऑप्शंस आल्सो, सो ये चीजें भी आपको थोड़ी सी याद रखनी है। यू विल हैव टू बी अ लिटिल मोर केयरफुल अबाउट इट, ठीक है? सो यस ऑफ कोर्स आई थॉट लॉट ऑफ यू, यस दैट्स ट्रू, ये जो डी था वो गलत था, तहसीन का डी जो था दैट वाज रॉन्ग, but Messiah is a poem that Alexander Pope is writing, right? Messiah is the poem that is written by Alexander Pope, which Samuel Johnson translated into Latin. ठीक है, तो ये किसने लिखा है? यू आर एबल टू सी दैट पोप इज द राइटर हु इज राइटिंग इट एंड सैमुअल जॉनसन इज द वन हु इज ट्रांसलेटिंग दिस पर्टिकुलर वर्क। तो ध्यान से पढ़ना, अगर क्वेश्चन आता है उल्टा हो गया, Messiah, the poem by Pope, was translated into Latin by which writer? Samuel Johnson had translated it. ठीक है, तो दोनों तरह से अच्छी तरह से पढ़ना। डी बिल्कुल नहीं है, थॉमस पार्नर बिल्कुल नहीं है, तहसीन ने जैसे बोला था, बाकी सब लोगों ने बिल्कुल सही जवाब दिया है। तो प्लीज कीप दैट इन माइंड दैट डॉक्टर सैमुअल जॉनसन इज आल्सो ट्रांसलेटिंग मसाया व्हिच इज रिटन बाय अलेक्जेंडर पोप। बाकी सबका ज्यादातर सही आया था, वेरी गुड, ठीक है? So please keep that in mind. Do remember that altogether. Okay, moving on to the next question. In Johnson's poem The London, Thale compares 18th century England with whose reign? In 18th century England with whose reign? Yes, Thales is comparing it with whose reign? Whose reign are we talking about? Whose reign are we talking about? Yes, all of them. So King Edward the Three, Alfred, and Henry the Fifth, all of them, right? So this is what you are able to see. This is what exactly Thales is actually trying to talk about. Okay. All right. Identify the poems that are written by Dr. Samuel Johnson. Which of the following poems are written by Dr. Samuel Johnson? The poems that are written by him. The poems that you're able to see that are written by him. You can use the elimination method, McFlecknoe, Rape of the Lock, right? So I hope you've been able to figure it out. Even the City of God, to be very honest. What is the correct answer over here? A is the right answer. The City of God, the Winter's Walk, the London, all of these. This is absolutely the correct answer. The City of God, Winter's Walk in London. ठीक है, ये सारी की सारी वर्क्स जो हैं ये डॉक्टर सैमुअल जॉनसन ने लिखे हैं। What is the main theme of To a Mouse by Robert Burns? To a Mouse by Robert Burns का main theme क्या है? टू अ माउस। और कल जीव पटेल का भी जैसे हम लोग देख रहे थे व्हेन वी वर लुकिंग एट ऑन किलिंग अ ट्री, जीव पटेल इज आल्सो एन एनवायरनमेंट पोएट, ही इज अ ग्रीन पोएट, हम लोग यही कल बोल रहे थे। व्हाट इज द मेन थीम ऑफ द पोएम टू अ माउस बाय रॉबर्ट बर्न्स? मेन थीम क्या है टू अ माउस की? मेन थीम क्या है? कस्तूरी, नेहा, यस, सॉरो फॉर द एनिमल्स फ्लाइट। जैसे अभी आप लोगों का जो दिसंबर बैच स्टार्ट, फाउंडेशन बैच स्टार्ट हो रहा है 18 दिसंबर से, उसमें पोस्ट ह्यूमनिज्म के अंतर्गत पोस्ट ह्यूमनिज्म के अंतर्गत वी हैव एक्चुअली पुट इन एनिमल स्टडीज। पोस्ट ह्यूमनिज्म के अंदर आपका क्या आ जाता है? पोस्ट ह्यूमनिज्म के अंदर आपका एनिमल स्टडीज आ जाता है। इसके अंदर आपका क्या आ रहा है? इसके अंदर आपका एनिमल स्टडीज आ जाएगा। तो ये चीज आपको थोड़ा सा याद रखना पड़ेगा। ओके, सो टू अ माउस व्हिच इज रिटन बाय रॉबर्ट बर्न्स इज ट्राइंग टू टॉक अबाउट सफरिंग, नेचर, डिस्ट्रक्शन, and of course the house of the mouse is destroyed unintentionally. The poet has destroyed it and realizes that humans dominate over the earth and break the harmony of the natural order. So ये भी आपका आता है To a Mouse by Robert Burns, animal studies में भी आपको बताया जाता है। Which edition of the lyrical ballets was first one to have the preface by Wordsworth? इस तरह के questions आपके आते ही रहते हैं set exams में। Which edition of the lyrical ballets was the first one to have the preface? Was the first one to have the preface? पहला preface किस में आया था? पहला प्रेफेस किस में आया था? पहला प्रेफेस, where were you able to see? Very good, Kasturi. 1800 is absolutely the correct answer. 1800 is absolutely the correct answer यहाँ पर। तो प्रेफेस के साथ जो आपका था, where was it? It was in the 1800 version altogether. सबसे पहले यहाँ पर आया वर्ड्सवर्थ was taken aback क्योंकि कोलरिज की राइटिंग्स को प्रेस किया जा रहा था, तो वर्ड्सवर्थ was like a little surprised that मेरी क्वांटिटी ज्यादा है फिर भी सब कोलरिज को प्रेस कर रहे हैं। So he had to write a preface to explain it to others that what is it that his poetry was trying to convey altogether. Okay, so this is what we were able to see. Okay, moving on to the next question that you are having. Romantic search for fresh subject, their belief in nature, their emphasis upon spontaneity, their belief that everyone has got right that everyone has got a right to express his own ideas are features of individualism, right? Are features of individualism, which was a prime demand of, which was the okay. This answer has come. This answer has come. This was फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन. देखो ऐसे भी आपको याद रखना है दैट फर्स्ट जनरेशन रोमांटिक्स जो हैं आपके ये फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन से इंस्पायर्ड थे. उल्टा रोमांटिक मूवमेंट के बैकग्राउंड में क्या आ रहा है? रोमांटिक मूवमेंट के बैकग्राउंड में एआर अमेरिकन रेवोल्यूशन से इंस्पिरेशन एंड राइट्स ऑफ सिटीजंस एंड डेमोक्रेसी का क्वेश्चन, इंडस्ट्रियल रेवोल्यूशन एंड फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन, ये सारे के सारे कॉन्टेक्स्ट आपके आपकी रोमांटिक एज के नीचे आ रहे हैं. सो यू विल हैव टू बी अ लिटिल मोर केयरफुल अबाउट इट. Okay, moving on to the next question. जल्दी से बताइए what is the right answer over here? Who viewed Wordsworth Southey? Who viewed Wordsworth Southey and Coleridge as representative, right? As representative sex of poet dissenters from established systems in poetry and criticism, who constituted the most formidable conspiracy against sound judgment in matters political. What is the correct answer here? Very good, Mosmi Khatun, very good. Francis Jeffrey is absolutely the right answer. तो लेक पोएट, सिटानिक स्कूल ऑफ पोएट्री, राइट, आपका ये सारे जो क्रिटिसिज्म जो आपके रोमांटिक क्रिटिसिज्म के अंतर्गत आ रहे हैं, ये आपके लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है. लेक पोएट्स कहाँ पे रह रहे थे? लेक डिस्ट्रिक्ट के पास रह रहे थे. सबसे पहले कब आया आर्टिकल? जो आया था 1817 के अंदर. इट वाज पब्लिश इन द एडिनबर्ग रिव्यू बाय फ्रांसिस. ठीक है. Who were the principal members? Coleridge, Wordsworth and Southey. Southey हमारा जो important poet laureate है of the romantic period altogether. And ये जो lake poets हैं according to Francis Jeffrey, their work was based on anti-social principles. Anti-social principles पे based था. ठीक है. So that is another thing that you are able to see. So please keep that in mind that these were certain things that they were trying to talk about altogether. Okay, now this is what their opinion was because they were being critical of them. Which first generation romantic poet is known for his dreamlike words created in his poem called Kubla Khan and Christabel? Kubla Khan and Christabel. Which first generation romantic poet is known for his dreamlike words created in his poems such as Kubla Khan and Christabel? This is very simple, come on. ये बिल्कुल भी गलत नहीं होना चाहिए. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, right? Samuel Taylor Coleridge, he's the one who's writing it. Coleridge के टाइम कोऑर्डिनेट्स भी याद रखिएगा क्योंकि कई बार आपको सेट देम इन ऑर्डर इस तरह से सेट एग्जाम्स में क्वेश्चन दिए जाते हैं. तो you should know all of these, right? You should know all of these. Which of the following poets does William Hazlitt call Don Quixote-like in his My First Acquaintance with the Poets? My First Acquaintance with the Poets. My First Acquaintance with the Poets. डॉन क्योटे लाइक, डॉन क्योटे लाइक. ठीक है. ये आपका द लिबरल के अंदर माय फर्स्ट अक्वेंटेंस विद पोएट्स के अंतर्गत आया था. सो डॉन क्योटे लाइक किसको बोला था? कस्तूरी हैज गॉट इट राइट, सोनाली हैज गॉट इट राइट. वर्ड्सवर्थ को डॉन क्योटे लाइक बोला था. वर्ड्सवर्थ को क्या बोला था? सो 1823 में द लिबरल के अंदर ये आया था माय फर्स्ट अक्वेंटेंस विद पोएट्स. ये जो एसे है व्हिच इज रिटन बाय विलियम हैजलिट, राइट, ये आपको एक कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव स्केच दे रहा है उस पर्टिकुलर पीरियड के बारे में. एंड ही सेज, राइट, देयर वाज इन्फ्लुएंस ऑफ कोलरिज आल्सो. एंड व्हाट आर वी एबल टू सी, right, what are we able to see? He says Wordsworth has Don Quixote like appeal, right? Wordsworth is having Don Quixote like appeal, so please remember that. In Dorothy's in Dorothy Wordsworth's journal, it is mentioned that a highly famous poem by her brother William Wordsworth was inspired from a walk the siblings took together, right? That is Ullswater in the Lake District. What is the name of the poem? What is the name of the poem? What is the name of the poem? Absolutely right. B is the correct answer. I wandered lonely as a cloud, right? I wandered lonely as a cloud. 15th April, Dorothy Wordsworth, the sister of William Wordsworth, right? They were walking at the Glycon Bay in Ullswater when they came along these long belt of daffodils, right? And she's put them in this journal as well. And Dorothy Wordsworth, is talking about this encounter. मीना अलेक्जेंडर ने ये लिखा भी है in Women of Romanticism, right? Women and Romanticism के अंदर you are able to see that Meena Alexander is talking about this as well. So Meena Alexander क्या करती हैं? Meena Alexander actually talks about these things as well in her Women and Romanticism. What are the two settings in which Coleridge's Rime of the Ancient Mariner takes place? Right? What are the two settings in which this is taking place? What are the two settings that you are able to see in which this is taking place? What are the two settings that you are able to see that these are taking place? It is a yes, Sonali, very good, very nice. Sonali ने बिल्कुल सही जवाब दिया है. It is a wedding party and ocean voyage, right? It is a wedding party and ocean voyage that we are able to see. It is a wedding party and ocean voyage. So Rime of the Ancient Mariner telling you about retribution altogether, ठीक है? Killing the albatross around my neck altogether, ठीक है? Spiritual world avenges the death altogether. Setting क्या है आपका? Setting आपका दोनों का दोनों है. You're able to see wedding as well as ocean voyage. ये आपके सिलेबसेस में भी होगा जब आप बचपन में एनसीईआरटी में भी आता था. Which of the following statement is not true about biographical criticism? It is not true about biographical criticism. Which of the following is not true about biographical criticism? Which of the following is not true about biographical criticism? It is not true. Right, absolutely right, absolutely right. A reader can better appreciate a text by knowing a writer's struggle. Facts about author's experience can help a reader decide how to interpret. Reader's experience is superior. ठीक है, देखो biographical criticism जो है ये reader response theory कहती है. ठीक है, तो ये यहाँ पर क्या है? राइटर के स्ट्रगल आपको पता चलते हैं बायोग्राफी, राइट? बायोग्राफी है about what the author's experience has is also biography. A reader can understand a writer's preoccupation by studying the way they apply and modify. So again, that is not true. So C is absolutely the right answer. Okay, please remember that. All right, quickly, mimetic criticism first appeared in the works of the pioneers of literary criticism, so to say. Who are we talking about? This is Plato and Aristotle. Okay, this is Plato and Aristotle. Mimesis, imitation. That is what you are able to see. Both Plato and Aristotle talk about their views on imitation, mimesis. Okay, moving on to the next. Which of the following criticism emphasizes on achieving with the ethical impact any literary text has upon the audience, right? Which of the following criticism emphasizes on achieving with the impact? So this is basically with the ethical impact any literary text has upon the audience. Ethical impact क्या होता है? Ethical impact क्या होता है text का? Ethical impact क्या होता है text का? Ethical impact. This is pragmatic criticism. This question is not very clear. This is pragmatic criticism. तो pragmatic criticism क्या कहती है कि कुछ effect आना चाहिए. There has to be some effect, right? There has to be aesthetic pleasure, instruction, any kind of emotion. पर effect होना चाहिए. ऐसा नहीं कि कुछ भी नहीं आया. Right? आप praise कर रहे हो, नहीं कर रहे हो, criticize कर रहे हो. At least some impact has to be there, right? Okay, moving on to the next. Which of the following is known as an impressionistic critic? Which of the following is known as an impressionistic critic? Impressionistic critic कौन माना जाता है? Who's known as an impressionistic critic? Who's known as an impressionistic critic? Walter Pater. Okay, Walter Pater. Walter, very good of Tara. Impressionistic critic. What are we able to see? Hazlitt also has put it in his essay called On Genius and Common Sense. You decide from feeling and not from reason. That is from the impression of a number of things in mind. हम कहते हैं ना बहुत बार gut feeling अच्छी नहीं आ रही है, पॉजिटिव फील नहीं हो रहा है, the gut feeling is not that good altogether. That is what we say, right? So we'll have to be a little more careful. Who was the first scholar to use practical criticism, which is also called applied criticism? Who was the first to use practical criticism? Practical criticism, applied criticism. Remember, ये जो controversy हो रही थी, Wordsworth was saying simple language use करो. कोल्ड्रिच कहता आप जो बोल रहे हो, क्या आप उसको प्रैक्टिस कर रहे हो? आप बोल तो रहे हो सिंपल लैंग्वेज यूज करो, बट आप खुद कॉम्प्लिकेटेड लैंग्वेज यूज कर रहे हो. तो हु इज द वन हु टॉक्स अबाउट इट? इट इज सैमुअल टेलर कोल्ड्रिच. प्लीज रिमेंबर दैट. ये वो वाला प्रैक्टिकल क्रिटिसिज्म नहीं है. तो प्रैक्टिकल क्रिटिसिज्म जो है, इट इज ट्राइंग टू एम्फसाइज एंड रिस्पॉन्ड टू हाउ आर यू पुटिंग टुगेदर एवरीथिंग. बायोग्राफिया लिटरेरिया जो है, it is a path breaking text when we are able to see, when we are able to look at how this criticism actually develops. तो थोड़ा सा इसको याद रखना. प्रैक्टिकल क्रिटिसिज्म जो आपका है, अप्लाइड क्रिटिसिज्म कोल्ड्रिच से एक तरह से एसोसिएटेड है. Which of the following is true of Aristotle's critical position? It is true of Aristotle's critical position. It is true of Aristotle's critical position. Writers are likely to be mere entertainers who appeal to emotions. ये तो प्लेटो बोल रहा है. Texts created by poets are ultimately inevitably inaccurate and defective as imitations. ये तो again प्लेटो बोल रहा है. The best artistic text will be both complex and unified. कल ही हम लोग कर रहे थे, we were talking about, remember, the guna theory, और ये सारी चीजें हम बोल रहे थे. Every part of the work will be essential to it and will be linked to every other part. राइट यही हम लोग कल बोल रहे थे. वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट किस तरह से परिपूर्णता आती है. वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट ऑल ऑफ दीज कॉन्सेप्ट्स ऑल टुगेदर, ऑर्गेनिक होल. राइट टेक्स्ट शुड नॉट बी जज्ड ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ हाउ एक्यूरेटली दे इमिटेट. दैट्स नॉट ट्रू. ठीक है, तो ये प्लीज याद रखना. यूनिटीज ऑफ स्पेस टाइम एंड एक्शन, ही टॉक्स अबाउट एवरीथिंग. राइट, so here that is the only thing which is true. Of the 5 conditions of the sublime, हमने आपको कल होमवर्क दिया था. अब आपका कल मैं टेक्स्ट चेक करूंगी, बिकॉज आज हम लोग थोड़ा वेस्ट बंगाल सेट के ऊपर फोकस कर रहे थे. Of the 5 conditions of the sublime, according to Longinus, the most important condition is, what is the most important condition? Very important for him. वेरी गुड कस्तूरी. मोस्टली नेट वाले क्वेश्चंस अब जितना प्रैक्टिस करें, थोड़ा सा आपको आइडिया अच्छा लगता है. यस, लॉफ्टी कास्ट ऑफ माइंड इज एब्सोल्युटली द करेक्ट आंसर. लॉफ्टी कास्ट ऑफ माइंड इज द राइट आंसर. सो सबलाइन जो है, हाउ इज ही डिफाइनिंग इट? राइट, लॉफ्टी कास्ट ऑफ माइंड, दैट्स एब्सोल्युटली द करेक्ट आंसर ओवर हियर. एंड ही सेज दैट देयर आर 4-5 कंडीशंस. राइट, imaginative language, noble nature of expression, grand composition, lofty mind, strong passions. This is what you're able to see. Okay, so please remember that. Okay, moving on to the next question. Who among the following believe that rhyme is not an integral part of poetry? That rhyme is not an integral part of poetry. Who believed in that rhyme is not an integral part of poetry? So sorry. Rhyme is not an integral part of poetry. Who believed that? So you were able to see that Horace believed that and Sidney also believed it. The rhyme is not essential. Rhyme is not an important part altogether. ठीक है, ये दोनों के दोनों, Horace as well as Sir Philip Sidney कह रहे थे कि rhyme is actually not an integral part of poetry. ठीक है, so इसको please थोड़ा सा ध्यान में रखिएगा. Which one of the following statements is true about Aristotle's poetics? It is true about Aristotle's poetics. So sorry. Which of the following is true? Jaldi se bataiye, which of the following is true over here? Right, when we are talking about Aristotle's poetics. Okay, the answers come. Okay, the answers come over here. The answers are already there. So I hope it is clear. He asserted value of poetry by integrating rhetoric and imitation. Remember, कल हम लोगों ने कहा था कि Bharata was the person who actually integrated both guna as well as rasa theory. In chapter 17 of Natya Shastra, he talks about the 10 gunas which are there. I hope you are able to recollect. कल की क्लास में हम लोगों ने करा था. He asserted that the value of poetry by integrating. Now this is wrong. He asserted value of poetry by focusing on both rhetoric and imitation. He asserted the value of poetry by giving preference to rhetoric rhetoric over imitation. Now this is a little true but not entirely correct. ठीक है, so ये हो गया, ये हो गया, ये हो गया, इनमें कुछ ना कुछ आपका इशू है. It is simply the value of poetry by focusing on imitation rather than rhetoric, right? Rather than rhetoric. और ये आपको क्लियर हो ही गया है that when we are talking about rhyme, right? When we are discussing about rhyme, rhyme is not important according to Horace also, and the same thing over here is being spoken about. Okay, the same thing over here is spoken about. Who among the ancients prescribed that poetry should both instruct and delight? Very simple question, सबका सही आना चाहिए. Very simple question, ये सबका सही आना चाहिए, किसी का भी गलत नहीं होना चाहिए. Poetry should both instruct as well as delight. Poetry should both instruct and delight. Very good. Horace, right? Horace talks about this. Horace is the one who's talking about it. Okay, moving on to the next question. So Horace is the person in Ars Poetica. This is what he's talking about it, right? That morally it should be improving and pleasure giving. So didactic purpose सिर्फ नहीं होना चाहिए, pleasure purpose भी होना चाहिए. The twin goals have to be met. It should be a useful teaching tool. That is what he talks about. Okay. Alright, moving on. Poetry, according to Sir Philip Sidney, is of three kinds. What are the three kinds? RPI. ये ज़्यादा time I'm not taking it because we've done it so many times. It has to be religious, philosophical, and imaginative, right? It has to be religious, philosophical, and imaginative. And poetry also, just like Horace and Sidney, both of them are saying that rhyme is not important. Both of them are saying that rhyme is not important. So please keep that in mind. Okay, moving on. Which two writers have written essays on the defense of poetry? Which two writers have written essays on the defense of poetry? Which two writers have written essays on the defense of poetry? What is the correct answer over here? Which two writers have written essays on the defense of poetry? This is very simple. Come on, this has to be quick altogether. You will put very good, very good. That's the right answer. So Sir Philip Sidney as well as P.B. Shelley, they are writing defense of poetry, right? They are the ones who are writing defense of poetry. Poets are the unacknowledged legislators of mankind, remember? Sir Philip Sidney in An Apology for Poetry was written as a response to. This was written as a response to. This was written as a response to Stephen Gosson's The School of Abuse, right? Stephen Gosson's The School of Abuse. The School of Abuse को it was actually written. Very good, Dominator. Absolutely right. बिल्कुल सही जवाब आ गया है. So it is the correct answer. School of Abuse, right? School of Abuse. Poetry is the mother of lies, waste of time. This was a Puritan pamphlet that you were able to see, right? That is the thing. To whom did Sidney compare his knowledge of poetry in An Apology for Poetry? And that's the starting point. That's the starting point. He says when this particular person can write about the merits of horses and horse riding, I can actually do that for poetry. I can actually do that for poetry. Whom are we talking about? To whom did Sidney compare his knowledge of poetry in Apology for Poesy? This is Pugliano, right? This is Pugliano, right? This is Pugliano that we are talking about. This is Pugliano that we are talking about. So he is trying to compare it with him. Okay, so please remember that. Okay, who among the following antique poet is remembered in Sir Philip Sidney's An Apology for Poesy? An Apology of Poesy. Who is remembered? Who is the one who's remembered? Who's the one who's remembered? So both आपको याद रखना है. Moises, Hesiod, Homer, all of these are remembered. Okay, all of these are remembered. So Moises and Homer, Hesiod, all of these, right? All of these are remembered. Please remember that. Okay, which of the following is not a distinctive feature of poetry? Which of the following is not a distinctive feature of poetry? It is not a distinctive feature of poetry. What is not a distinctive feature of poetry? What is not a distinctive feature of poetry? So here, what are you able to see? Uses language, uses rhythm, uses harmony, but it is written in verse. That is not necessary, right? That is not necessary. And poetics ke antargat also you are able to see, this is being discussed as well. Overall, that is another thing that you are able to look at. So please keep that in mind. Okay, this is an interesting question. Which of the following contains a mix of direct and indirect narrative? Direct narrative and indirect narrative. Direct and indirect narrative. डायरेक्ट एंड इनडायरेक्ट नैरेटिव. होमेरिक एपिक्स, जो होमेरिक एपिक्स होते हैं ना, वो डायरेक्ट नैरेटिव भी है और इनडायरेक्ट नैरेटिव का दोनों को. जैसे बीच में आपका होमेरिक सिमिलीज आ गई, फिर बीच में कुछ और डिस्क्रिप्शन आ गई है आपका. सो दैट आल्सो बिकम्स रियली इंपॉर्टेंट. Which of the following is not art? Which of the following is not art, right? Which of the following is not art in the Greek sense of the word? It is not art in the Greek sense of the word. Which of the following is not? This is very simple, right? Tragedy, sphere, table, right? So again, your peacock's feather, right? Your peacock's feather, a peacock's feather. That is what you're able to see, right? That, please keep that in mind. And he even explains all of this. He even explains all of this. Okay, which of the following is not a reason for why we like imitations, right? Not a reason why we like imitations. It's not a reason. Again, these are the questions that will make you think. लगता है कि simple questions हैं, but they are making you think. They are making you understand and address a question. We learn from imitators. Imitation is the best form of flattery. Imitations exercise our reason. हमें हम compare कर पाते हैं कि भाई हाँ ये वाला उसकी नकल है, right? We are not repelled by the imitation, the things we normally find repellent, right? So again, that we know it's there. There's a sense of safety in not having to deal with reality. Now, please remember that is not a reason that you're able to see. So please keep that in mind. Okay, which of the following was actually one of the last to evolve? ये सब आपका Aristotle बताते हैं. Which of the following is the last to evolve? Which of the following is the last to evolve? So tragedy is the last to evolve. Okay, which of the following is last to evolve? Tragedy is the last to evolve. That is what you are able to see. Okay, so please remember. So clearly we are able to see that this is last to evolve and one of the best. Which of the following is not one of the three unities? It's what simple है. Unity of place, time and unity of place, time and जल्दी बताइए. Unity of place, time and एक्शन. सो कैरेक्टर नहीं है, राइट? यूनिटी ऑफ प्लेस, टाइम एंड एक्शन, एंड ये नहीं है. सो प्लीज याद रखना दैट दैट हियर ही इज डिवाइडिंग द पार्ट्स ऑफ द ट्रेजेडी, राइट? पार्ट्स ऑफ द प्लॉट दैट यू आर एबल टू सी, द mythos part, character, thought, diction, melody, spectacle. So all of those things you will have to remember. It wants to purge people of the emotions altogether, right? So please keep that in mind. In which of the following, which is the only unity that Aristotle insists on? एक चीज he insists on. He's insisting on it. He's insisting on it. He's insisting on it. He's insisting on the unity of action. Okay, he's insisting on the unity of action. He says that is very important. The organic whole. ये हम लोग कल भी कर रहे थे, तो वही चीजें हैं. कंपेयर कीजिए कि कौन कौन सी चीजें हम लोगों ने इंडियन एस्थेटिक्स में बोली हैं, and they're very similar. That was one of the major reasons why I took literary criticism primarily today. Which of the following is the most important? Which of the following is most important? प्लॉट इज मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. क्या सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है? प्लॉट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. ये सबका सही आना चाहिए था जल्दी, पर ये गलत मतलब इतना फास्ट नहीं आ रहा. प्रगति मुंडे ने करा है. तो प्लॉट इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. विच ऑफ द फॉलोइंग इज लीस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट? बिल्कुल जरूरी नहीं है. तो विच इज द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट वी सॉ, विच इज द लीस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट? अभी अभी मैंने दिखाया भी था ये. रिमेंबर, ये मैंने आपको लिखाया भी है ऑर्डर में. आई हैव शोन इट टू यू इन ऑर्डर. मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट mythos, राइट? इन ऑर्डर ऑफ इंपॉर्टेंस टू लीस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. लीस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट स्पेक्टिकल. तो ये थोड़ा सा प्लीज ध्यान दीजिएगा, क्योंकि ये सारी इजी क्वेश्चन है. लीस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट क्या है? स्पेक्टिकल इज लीस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. स्पेक्टिकल इज लीस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट. ठीक है, मैसेज का पूरा थ्योरी भी ओवरऑल याद रखिएगा. Which of the following is not a part of Aristotle's definition of tragedy? It is not a part of Aristotle's definition of tragedy. It's very surprising an answer, but that is the reality. Which is not a part of Aristotle's definition of tragedy? Which is not a part of it? It arouses pity and fear. It has an unhappy ending. ये नहीं बोला है उन्होंने. It involves mimesis. It is performed rather than narrated. ठीक है, तो B is the correct answer. Please remember that. Okay, please keep that in mind. All right, moving on to the next question. Which of the following genres has the same plot as tragedy? Which of the following genres have the same plot as tragedy? Which of the following genres has the same plot as tragedy? It has the same plot as tragedy. Epic poetry, very good. Epic poetry, right? Epic poetry, it is having a similar trajectory that you are able to see. Okay, please remember that. Which of the following has an episodic structure? इसका episodic structure होता है, episodic structure. So both biography and history दोनों का ही episodic structure आता है, ठीक है. episodic एक के बाद एक के बाद एक तरह से आता है. रिमेम्बर अक्रमिक, हम लोगों ने कल बोला भी था कि आपका जो अक्रम का है तो किस तरह से आप क्रम के अंतर्गत चल रहे हैं. अ कॉम्प्लेक्स plot must have, a complex plot must have, a complex plot must have, a complex plot must have. देखो दोनों में से एक होना चाहिए, ठीक है. एक होना चाहिए, या तो पेरिपेशिया होनी चाहिए या एनिग्नोर्सिस होना चाहिए. दोनों होने की जरूरत नहीं है, इनमें से एक और होना चाहिए. और ओके, that is what you are able to see. Which of the following is not necessary to all tragedies? It is not necessary to all tragedies. Exode is important, parode is important, episode is important, commerce is not important. Please इसको याद रखना. Okay. Alright, moving on. Which is the best kind of tragic plot? Which is a harmful deed is premeditated. इसको लिख लो. A harmful deed is premeditated. A harmful deed is premeditated in ignorance. But right, but a discovery helps prevent it. But a discovery helps in prevent it. Which is the best kind? This is the best kind. Harmful deed is premeditated in ignorance, right? Premeditated but in ignorance. So टाइम पे आप होशोहवास में नहीं होते हैं, right? But discovery helps prevent it. That is the best kind of tragic plot that you are able to see. So Aristotle कहते हैं, he makes 7 final remarks कि आप प्लॉट को कैसे कंस्ट्रक्ट करें. You should be sure to visualize the action as vividly as possible. Right, the poet should even try acting out the events as he writes them. The poet should first outline the overall plot, right? That is what you're able to see. Every play consists of dices or complications. What is dices? This is your complication or lusus or denouement, moving towards the closure. इसको please याद रखना. Dices, you need to remember this. Dices as well as lusus, ये आपको थोड़ा सा ध्यान में रखना पड़ेगा. Okay, so please keep that in mind. There are 4 distinct kinds of tragedy and tragic plot that you are able to see. Okay, first there is a complex tragedy made up of peripecia and anagnorisis or either one of them. Second, the tragedy of suffering. Third, the tragedy of character. Fourth, the other tragedy of spectacle, and then he continues. Okay, so please remember that. Which is the worst kind of tragic plot? This is the best kind. A harmful deed is premeditated in ignorance but discovery, right? But a discovery helps prevent it. Okay, this I think we'll talk. Okay, which is the worst kind of anagnorisis? Which is the worst kind of anagnorisis? Which is the worst kind of anagnorisis? The worst kind of anagnorisis is recognition by means of signs or marks. Anagnorisis is discovery. Peripecia is reversal of fortune. Right? That is what you are able to see. So इसको थोड़ा सा please याद रखना, because a lot of times we very often forget all of these. हम लोग कल भी इसी से ही कंटिन्यू करेंगे. इस यार जानबूझ के मैंने क्वेश्चंस जो थे लिटरेरी क्रिटिसिज्म पे कॉन्सेंट्रेटेड रखे, because we were looking at Indian aesthetics also yesterday. थोड़ा सा आने वाले टाइम में जब तक आपका वेस्ट बंगाल सेट है हम लोग थोड़ी सी रिविजन इस पे करेंगे. But let's not lose track of what we are studying. We will of course continue looking at your Indian aesthetics, completely looking at your Indian English literature, completely looking at English in India. ये सारे topics भी हम अच्छी तरह से cover करेंगे. Yeah, I want all of you to let me know in case if there are any other doubts that you're having. Please feel free to let me know about it. We'll wrap up today's class over here and I'll catch up with all of you tomorrow at 10:30 p.m. Fine. थैंक्स सो मच एवरीवन फॉर ज्वाइनिंग. ये सारे अपने लिटरेरी क्रिटिसिज्म के एस्पेक्ट्स को प्लीज रिवाइज कर लीजिएगा और कोई और डाउट हो तो बता देना. थैंक यू फ्यूचर ड्रीम्स. थैंक यू. आई होप अच्छी तरह से आप नोट्स बना रहे हैं, इसको कवर करके यू राइट इट डाउन. और मैं आपको कुछ क्वेश्चंस टेलीग्राम प्लेटफॉर्म पे भी दे दूंगी. ठीक है. थैंक यू सोनाली, डोमिनेटर, देवशीष, अजीज. थैंक यू सो मच. थैंक्स सतेंद्र. आई कैच अप विद ऑल ऑफ यू टुमारो एट 10:30 p.m. बाय. टेक केयर. गुड नाइट.